To explain supply and demand, we will first have a concept of competitive market. Such market is a place which involves many buyers and sellers for same good or service, but none of them can influence the price. The economists devised a model to help people understand the behaviors happen in such markets, which called supply and demand model. We are going to talk about three elements in this model, which are supply curve, demand curve, and set of factors that shifts supply and demand.
First, let's talk about supply. Let's have a look at the difference between supply and quantity supply. Supply is the total amount of product that is available for purchase at any specific price. The quantity supply is the actual amount of a good or services that producers are willing to sell at some specific price. As we know, the supply curve is an upward sloping curve, which shows the relationship between quantity supplied and the price. This is the diagram of cherry market. Let's suppose that the price of cherry rises from 60 to 80. Then we can see the quantity of cherry that farmers are willing to sell rises from 500 billion to 700 billion pounds. This is the normal situation of a supply curve, reflecting the general proposition, which shows a higher price will lead to a higher quantity supplied. And some economists refer to this relationship as the law of supply. Consider this is the supply schedule for the Middle East oil market. The law of supply says that other things being equal, the price and the quantity supplied of a good are positively related. A movement along the supply curve is a change in the quantity supplied of a good that is the result of a change in that good's price. As the price increased from 0.5 to $1, we can see that the quantity of gasoline also increased from 50 to 100, and this change is being called a movement along the supply curve. This diagram is showing by the shift of the supply curve before the entry of new producers S star to its new position after the entry of new producers S1. Notice that S1 lies to the left of S star, and this is a reflection of the fact that the quantity supplied increased at any given price. A change in supply curve is a shift of supply curve as S star to S1, but a movement along the supply curve is a change in the quantity supplied of a good that is a result of a change in that of price as A to B. And there are some factors that will cause the shift of the supply curve. First, the change in input price is anything that is used to produce a good or services. Second, the change in price of related goods or services. Like a single producer often produces a mix of goods rather than a single product. Third, the technology. This is the method people can use to turn inputs into useful goods and services. Fourth, expectations. A change of expected future price can lead a supplier to supply less or more of the good. And the last one is number of producers, which also means number of competitors. And that's all about supply.
Now we are moving on to demand. We will talk about it through four aspects: demand, quantity demand, demand curve, and shifts of the demand curve. First, what is demand and quantity demand? What is the difference between them? Demand is people's ability and willingness to buy a specific good or service at a certain price and at a particular period of time. But quantity demand is the quantity of a good or service that people are willing to buy. The demand curve shows the relationship between quantity demand and the price. It is a negative relationship that the curve slopes downward. From the figure, we can see that higher price reduces quantity demand, but lower price increases quantity demand. Here we can also guess a law of demand, which later we will use the coffee market example to illustrate it. Here are the price and quantity demand in a particular coffee shop. When the price is $5 per cup, there will be 4 cups be consumed. When the price is 4, 8 cups will be consumed, and later on. Here are 2 figures can help you understand what is happening in the coffee shop. When the price of coffee is $3 per cup, there will be 12 cups of coffee be consumed, which is a point on the demand curve. But when the price decreases from $3 to $2, the quantity of coffee be consumed will increase to 16 cups, which is B point on the demand curve, which is a movement along the demand curve. Here we can guess that when the price of coffee decreases, the quantity demand of coffee rises. Then we can work out the law of demand. All other things being equal, when price increases, the quantity demand will decrease. When the price decreases, the quantity demand will increase. Before talking about the shifts of demand curve, we need to differentiate a changing demand and a movement along the demand curve. A changing demand is a shift of demand curve as point A to C in the figure. A movement along the demand curve is a change in quantity demand as point A to point B in the figure. What are the factors can shift the demand curve? The first one is the price of substitute or complements. For example, tea and coffee are substitute. When the price of tea increases, the demand of coffee will increase, since more people tend to consume coffee. The second factor is the income. When people's income increases, the demand will also increase, since people tend to buy more goods. The third factor is preference. For example, when people prefer healthy food, the demand of fresh vegetables will also increase. The fourth factor is expectations. For example, savvy shoppers, they always wait for seasonal sales since they bet the price will decrease in that period. Thus, during that time, the demand of each product will also increase. The last factor is the number of consumers. For example, when the population grows rapidly in a particular period, the demand in that area will also increase due to the population growth.
So, what is absolute advantage? In the 17th centuries, famous economist Adam Smith told us that countries should find out what they can produce more efficiently, which means cheaper, better, and faster, and then specialize in what they do best while trading with other countries who are also doing what they are best at, which means countries should specialize and trade. For example, units per worker per hour. Switzerland can produce 8 chocolates, but Pakistan can only produce 3 chocolates. In this situation, we see that Switzerland has an absolute advantage in producing chocolates than Pakistan. Chocolates made in Switzerland have a lower price than Pakistan, which makes Switzerland more competitive in the market. So absolute advantage is when you produce a good more efficiently in the same amount of time. Let's say you are entering the job market and you are evaluating your options for a career. At the same time, your competitor, Bob, who is also evaluating his options. Now you have an absolute advantage over Bob in baking cakes, whether it's chocolate cake, banana cake, or vanilla cake. If both of you bake the same cake side by side, you'll be the one who could bake 3 times as many cakes in an hour as he could. You're really good at baking cakes and certainly better than Bob is, who's struggling to get the first cake rolling. Between the two of you, you are the best at it. In economics, we say you have an absolute advantage over your competitor when you can produce a good more efficiently in the same amount of time. According to the examples of produced chocolates and baked cakes, we could know that an absolute advantage is the ability of individual, company, or country to produce a good or service at a lower opportunity cost than any competitor, which gives them more space to lower price and earn more market share. An entity with an absolute advantage requires fewer inputs and has more efficient processes, allowing it to undercut its competitors prices and earn higher profits. We could learn from that. If you want to win in the market, you need absolute advantage to compete.